Hey everybody, Tony D with one last hot take of the evening. I'm going to try to make this one short. I didn't quite finish my Antifa rant last night because little Joan was barking her little doggy head off. But there was more to the story. Now, the mayor of Portland, Mayor Ted Wheeler, who once, I believe, said, "I am Antifa," has pushed for the feds to get out of his city. And the AG of Portland is suing the government to force federal agents out of the city of Portland via a judge. I don't see how that case could possibly move forward in favor of Portland. Unless there's some clause in the contract between the federal government and the city of Portland, I don't see how the federal government can be overruled by a local court unless the judge is just as fanatical as some of the politicians coming out of the Portland, Seattle area. This is all very transparently, to me, an attempt to, again, hurt Trump, because everybody's about this 2020 election. And every day this drags on, it's more and more likely one of these Antifa types is going to kill somebody. And the first body has been really found, although according to Wikipedia, 28 people have died in the riots, but the first direct result, I guess this would be, is they found the body in a pawn shop in Minneapolis that was burned down by a rioter. So I think it's just a matter of time before something like that happens in Seattle or Portland. They're going to burn down a building, somebody's going to get caught in it, they're going to die. I mean, the Chaz, they killed people. The Chazistanis, they shot 3 people, killed 2. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage about that? One of them was, I believe, a minor. I think he was 16, and I believe he was black. I guess not all Black Lives Matter, huh? But, yeah, I don't think the mayor has a legal leg to stand on. And I question whether or not he has any kind of political clout left after this disaster. I don't know why anybody would re-elect him after this. I read a post by someone who is leaving Eugene, Oregon, which I assume is very close to the action near Portland. And she has said that she's just abandoning almost everything. Just abandoning her house, her furniture, just to get out. And it's that bad. It's that bad. And that she has been following the mainstream news and is just shocked that nobody's reporting how bad it actually is. She has rioters going past her front window every night. And, according to the Post, I don't know how real it is, but, I've no reason to doubt it. I mean, there's been rioting in the streets every night. And that wasn't just from randos on the internet reporting it. That was the chief of police in Portland saying they had waves of people running through the streets, smashing buildings. They lit an H&M on fire, a jewelry store. I saw the video for that. What was the purpose of that? How is the jewelry hurting anybody? How is the jewelry, an attack against people of color? How did that affect police brutality? How is that, how do people need, was there bread in the H&M, like AOC said? I don't think so. I think these rioters are just attacking everything. It looks like the final scenes of the Joker movie. Now, they actually had a shot of some of the protesters, again, tearing into the federal building. They had covered up windows with plywood. And there was this overweight guy in, it looked like a jack-o'-lantern t-shirt, and his belly was shaking, and it looked like something out of the Joker movie. It looked like something one of the Joker's henchmen would wear, right? was kind of this wild shirt with a big smile on it, and he had a mask on, and it was just chaos. And just the vandalism. I mean, they've spray painted everything. It looks like Somalia. So, this idea that this is going to bring about a positive change? No. And Tim Pool did a report on this, and he said, these federal agents can come in at any time and knock you guys out. And it's true. They're allowing you to do this. But more specifically, the mayor's allowing this to happen because he's responsible specifically for the city. He's pulled back the cops. I believe he is also the police chief. I believe that's the system in Portland. Not so in Seattle. Seattle, by the way, the Antifa idiots attacked the mayor's house and city council members' houses. Yeah, you thought you would be safe. You thought wrong. Apparently, I believe it's the mayor of Oakland. She had her house attacked too in California. They're going after everybody. They don't want to spare anybody. And they get more and more emboldened the longer you let them out. See, if you'd stopped this in the beginning, it would be over already. They'd go back into their communist bookstores and say, oh, patriarchy, or whatever. But they think they're winning. You now have to disabuse them of that notion, or they're going to burn your house down. I'm not hoping that. I'm saying that that's a likely outcome if this continues to escalate. Even de Blasio just got rid of the New York Chaz in front of City Hall. It turned into a homeless encampment, basically. Probably the Antifa guys all went home and let the homeless people take it over, and they're all college kids, so they're not gonna live in that filth. So, what are you doing? How do you think this is gaining you any voters or any support? This is not being blamed on Trump. None of it's being blamed on Trump. The only people who believe this is Trump's fault are people who still watch the network news. People like John Cusack, who I just did a video on, who cut together or retweeted a video, I'm not sure if he cut it together, and included a clip of Rachel Maddow, who's spouting on about how there was a bounty on American soldiers and the Russians. I mean, she's still on and on about the Russians. And he retweeted that like it was serious. He believes that, I think. That's what some people believe. But that's getting a smaller and smaller and smaller portion of America. There are not that many people who actually believe this stuff. It is not a majority, not even close. And most of these whack jobs are not going to vote for Biden. They're not going to vote for anybody. They're not going to vote. They're too busy rioting. Most of them aren't even registered. They're idiots. They don't want to work. You think they want to vote? That requires effort. It requires you filling out this form and mailing it in on time. These people can't get up and show up for work every day. They're not going to do that. I could see a bunch of them showing up to the polls and getting all pissed off when they can't vote. But, you're doing the exact opposite of what you wanted to achieve. You are emboldening Trump. You are helping his chances come election time. And he knows it. He's allowing this because that's the smart move from his perspective. And in fact, a lot of people who are big fans of Trump are now criticizing him for sending in the troops at all. But I think the timing's about right. It feels like, as long as the troops stay defensive, as long as the federal troops stay defensive, and they force the local government scare. I mean, imagine if the Portland government is successful in kicking out the troops, right? They say, okay, let's say it's one of those wacko judges, right? So the judge says, okay, yeah, Portland, you're right. You shouldn't have to suffer the federal authorities. There's no federal crimes here. The federal troops must leave. Here's what will happen. The troops will say, okay, listen, we have to close the courthouse, so take everything important out of it. Let's wrap it all up, and they'll all leave. They'll all leave in an orderly fashion, and they'll help the people who work there get out of there because they know what's going to happen next. They'll seal up the building, they'll empty it, and they'll seal it. They'll take out everything important, and then the rioters will destroy it and set it on fire. Will that be a victory for Portland and for Ted Wheeler and the governor? No. It's not going to be a victory for them. As soon as the feds leave and things go worse, it's your fault, dummies. It's not Trump's fault. He offered to help you. It's the same thing that happened in Minneapolis. He offered to send in the troops, and Minneapolis said nope. Trump obviously doesn't want every city to end up like Minneapolis. We can only afford so many Detroits. But that's the way you're headed, Portland. And Portland's mayor will be forever known as the guy who turned it into Detroit. Same thing for Jenny Durkin over in Seattle. You're just going to lose everybody. All the major businesses will leave. All the people who have any intelligence will leave. You'll be left with all the communists with their hands out going, feed us. You used to feed us. And then the money will run out. And then they won't even be able to do that. And the communists will go back home to their parents' basements, and they'll end up in the suburbs somewhere outside the city, voting the way they do, and maybe they'll move to Texas and try to turn that blue and try to, spread the good-natured leftist politics that have destroyed parts of Portland and Seattle. I don't know. That's what seems to be happening. Or maybe Trump is, again, setting you up. It's kind of funny to watch because he's been right so many times. Don't bet against Trump. Never bet against Trump.